So here's Paradise Part 3, the final part. Um, yeah, I finally watched it. And everything like that. So, these are my notes and everything like that. And this part has a lot of things that I want to cover, I think. Um, well, not that I think, I know I want to cover and everything like that. This part was very emotional, very heavy. So, again, I'm going to give my disclaimer and trigger warning. So, disclaimer first. Um, Everything I say is a reaction to the information being presented. My commentary is my opinion and my opinion alone. It's only for entertainment purposes and should not be taken too seriously. Um, and, take it with a grain of salt, all that kind of stuff. And trigger warning, because we will be talking about SA, feederism, coercion, and all that kind of stuff. So if you are sensitive to those topics, please step away. Remember, you are loved, you are appreciated, and you are important, most importantly. I don't, I don't want to trigger anybody, so please step away now. I do not mind if you need to step away. Go protect your peace. Go protect your peace. Go protect yourself. As always, I will link a palette cleanser video in the comments below, so that way after this video, it'll end on a happier note. I will report that. I will give you a little bit of that that spoiler. It does end on a rather happy note. Bittersweet, sort of. Better to describe it bittersweet. But yeah, I will put a palette cleanser link video in the description, so that way if you need to, you can either, if you don't want to watch this video, you can go watch another video from another creator I truly love and support. Either way, thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. So, anyways, to get into the nitty gritty, I guess. So, this episode starts up with Emily shares her thoughts about, well, I was gonna say, like, death feeders and stuff like that, and death feederisms, and how the health issues it can cause and everything. How death feederism is just horrible, and how kind of common it is, I guess, between disgusting feeders and stuff like that. Feederism led her to find freedom with money, and fat phobia, and it was a false freedom. So she found freedom, but it wasn't actually freedom, and that was kind of referring to Cass's situation, where Cass was 29 and she passed away, and how horrible of a situation. So Stefan refuses to admit he had any part to play in her death, which, you can make the argument of the fact that Cass was kind of shot into feederism stardom, I guess, by saying that, oh, I'm with Stefan and I was on Paradise, and Paradise was kind of, well, not kind of, allegedly, allegedly a feeder's paradise, no pun intended. But, so it's this part where Stefan hears up and says the house misses her. He misses her. I do think he does miss her, but he refuses to understand that this is his fault due to the culture that he is in. The whole feederism culture, I believe that he was a part of. He really slingshotted her into that sort of feederism lifestyle, and that is why she gained 100 pounds in 2 years. Why Cass felt like that was her only way to survive in life. The only way that she felt important was to be a feedie. And, you know, I think that it was Stefan's fault for doing that. And he refuses to take that accountability. And the way he does speak about her, I truly think that he was in love with her. I think he fell in love with her. I think he fell in love with a lot of the girls. But the issue is that he doesn't want to see the fact that, you know, he's a feeder. And literally the next quote is, "Oh, I'm not a feeder. Cass is a feeder. Well, feedee. If I was in charge of feeding anyone here, they would all starve." And everything like that, as he's eating at the table with all the girls and all that kind of stuff. Which, you know, I just think that, you know, that's a whole thing of he can't cook. I don't think he can cook. Cass put on 100 pounds in 2 years outside of Paradise, which that started like right after she left Paradise. Stefan admits feederism being dangerous because of that fact. Claims that when Cass was in Paradise, she was never into feederism. Again, excuse the typos, please. Excuse the typos. Says that if anyone has anything to do with Cass's weight gain, it's purely to make him look bad. So Stefan, again, refuses to take this accountability that he was involved somehow with Cass's passing away. He thinks that he did nothing wrong, that he's just being this oh so supportive person and everything like that. And he's totally not an enabler. He's totally not a feeder. He's totally not encouraging these women and coercing them into his home to make content for him and, you know, sexually gratify him or anything like that. So, you know, there's that. But so Emily admits that she knew that what Cass was up to in the house. So Emily admits that, hey, I knew that she was into this feederism content. I knew she was on Phoebe. I knew that this was happening. And from what she makes it sound like is that Cass wasn't hiding it. She was making money off of this. And Stefan, I'm convinced, allegedly, this is my thoughts, this is not proven fact, I think that Stefan, if any of the girls were making money on social media, were giving him a profit to stay, like giving them a certain percentage of their money if they were to live in the house like full time and stuff like that. That's what I think anyway. Allegedly. That is not proven. That is just my thoughts. Emily states that a lot of Paradise content is how much bigger we, as in the girls, can get and to make a show out of it, because they're performing in a sense. They're performing to try and be like, oh, look how much I can eat. Look how much bigger I can get, because these sick individuals trying to remain somewhat okay. This part really had me pissed off at a lot of points. I think Kimi took it very intensely, I think, and as you should, because she was kind of the face of the whole like victim movement of Paradise, right? But the way she went about it, I felt like she was attacking Cass way too much when Cass was a victim herself. And, you know, I think whenever, like, the videos that were shown of Kimi were not the same person who was being interviewed. I think she grew as a person, really calmed down and everything, which you should be intense when you're calling out a predator like that, when you're calling out somebody for very deplorable, horrible, even, you know, I want to say murderous, but it's more nefarious behaviors like that. And, you know, when you're doing something like that, of course you're going to have some intensity of, you know, why are you standing by this piece of shit? Why are you doing this to somebody? Why? Like, why? You know, you may not understand it, but the thing is, there are still always going to be victims in that house. And Kimi, I feel like, now understands that, but at the moment she was doing what she thought was right, and it came off very harsh. And, you know, it, like, I understand, but watching it and thinking about how Cass must have felt, how any of the girls must have felt, you know, that were still in paradise, that were still coming to terms with the fact, oh shit, maybe this guy is not a good guy after all, and stuff like that. Because it seems like you don't, I kept thinking about, if I was in a situation like that where I was being praised, I was enjoying the attention, and I was actually being loved and appreciated, my body was being worshipped, you know, you don't want someone to burst your bubble. And here comes Kimi and making these videos about the man who gives you all this love and attention. How much, like, processing that takes, you know? And, you know, again, Kimi did nothing wrong. Just, she came off a bit intense. That's all I'm getting at. So he got my respect of this part. So, he was sitting with Cass talking about the whole situation, because remember, the lawsuit was still happening about the other girls with Savvy, Ali, and Kimi and everything. So that was still going on. This is still going on as of right now. So Cass got really emotional in one video, and Stefan gets my respect because he's, well, a little bit of respect, but it kind of goes away because he's like, Cass starts tearing up, right? And Stefan's like, oh, don't get emotional and everything like that. But then, like, he sees, like, oh shit, she's actually crying, and he turns the camera away really quickly, which he does have my respect in that regard. You don't want to film someone you actually, like, someone in distress like that. It's not going to be good. And part of me really does think that Stefan, in his heart, as sick and twisted as it is, I think he does care about these women. I think he does care about the ladies that do end up in his house. I do. And not just Cass or Ivy or Emily or, you know, all the girls. I think they hold a special place in his heart. But it's still like, why are you doing this to them? Why are you knowingly feeding in, unironically, feeding into this type of content just to get your rocks off a little bit? Like, why would you do that to them? You're using them as objects. And, you know, I don't like that. Emily states that she started to feel more of her humanity in the house. And, like, she understands that, you know, having that sense of community is powerful. It makes you feel powerful. It makes you feel things you didn't really think about and everything like that. And, you know, it's once you have that, it's hard to let it go. But in this instance with Stefan, she had to let this go because she knew it wasn't going to be safe. Emily, as a journalist, found herself not instantly going over the pictures and findings, but taking her time in parts through everything, like all the pictures and stuff that she took. What she found to her was more important than any personal project. The project, once done, Emily sent it to the press company that she worked for at the time, and they were not interested in publishing it or releasing it. That one no just ended her desire to release her findings. It felt unfinished. She, quote, never closed the door on it, which is the Paradise House. So, you know, I understand that. You know, it's hard to be told no, but then also, you know, you got to think about her perspective and how she felt about the Paradise House, how amazing it could have felt, how betraying it could have felt to not only Stefan, but the other women in the house of, oh, I went there, had an amazing time, had this sense of community, and now all of a sudden I'm backstabbing them. So I wonder if that's how she felt, and judging by her interview, I think that's how she felt. So Heather, massive trigger warning for this part. So Heather thought that the girls, with their essay allegations and everything, was just blowing it up. They're just wanting to make Stefan look like the bad guy, and she states that it's really easy to minimize someone else's experience until you go through something yourself. So March of 2022, Heather was at the house, and a new girl was there. The girl wasn't named, I believe, and she invited a bunch of Tinder guys who were into BBW, big beautiful women. Invited a bunch of them to the house, right? And that screams red flag to me. And I don't mean to laugh. Again, I'm just really uncomfortable. But so I'll pick who I want, and you guys can pick whoever else with the rest. So this girl just had the intention of picking the best one and then letting the other girls have whoever they wanted, right? Which, hell no, fuck that. So Heather wasn't really interested in that. She didn't really want to participate in that sort of hookup culture with a bunch of strangers that Stefan didn't even know was entering his home. That's also a very important fact. So Heather was in the pool, and one of the guys tried to keep touching her, tried to grope her and touch her body non-consensually. And, she didn't want it, and she told him to back off and all that kind of stuff. So she moved into the hot tub. Another girl pulled Heather on her lap. So from what I know, so the girl was groping Heather. Heather kind of was just, no. She didn't want to, and the girl was kind of gone. She was gone. Heather said that she was gone, and yet she was still groping her. And the same man who was trying to grope her before joined in, and an assault happened there, and it was hard to listen to because obviously she's messed up about it, but that's when she understood, hey, I understand these girls now, and I'm the problem. I stood by this man when he doesn't care about victims. And so Stefan, she went to him, and Stefan's response to Heather, when I'm not going to get mad. I want to. I am mad. Stefan's response to her essay is, oh no, I'm sorry. He didn't know anyone who was in his home that night, as far as the men that the girl invited from Tinder. To this day, Heather does not know who did it. She does not know the man's name. There was no remorse. There was nothing. There was no wanting to make any changes. There was nothing that Stefan would do. That's when Heather realized that she had to get out of the house. She had to stand with the other girls. She had to stand with the other girls because she realized, oh shit, I fucked up. I was the right-hand man to this horrible man for so long. And again, she was blinded by the fact that Stefan was so welcoming, so loving, and, accepted her for who she was and her body and everything. And, this goes back into the whole fat phobia and how growing up as a plus size person and everything, that goes into how hard it is emotionally, because, you know, Heather's, I don't mean to make it sound this way, but Heather's a good example of, you know, having that sort of attention can blind you to every, like, all the negative and horrible behavior, and being like, oh, that's just so fun. That's just, you know, that didn't happen. There's no way that this person I'm putting on a pedestal is a bad person. There's no way he did that. He allowed those things to happen to you. And I think that's really sad, at the fact that we as a society shame these bigger women into, oh, if you'd be such a pretty, like, you would be such a pretty girl if you lost weight. Oh, you're just a pretty face. Oh, you know, bigger bodies shouldn't be celebrated. All bodies are different. Everybody carries weight different and everything. And, you know, again, being a heavier person myself, it's different. I know in the last part I got a little bit emotional about, I did cry after recording. I did cry, but it is hard, having a bigger body. It is, I'm not over 200 pounds. I'm, you know, like 190, 180. I haven't weighed myself in a while because I have a complicated relationship with scales. And I know if I buy one, it's going to become a unhealthy relationship with that scale. And it'll affect my other relationships with food and everything like that. So I avoid weighing myself quite a bit, because I know that if I focus on the quality of food, if I focus on moving my body, if I focus on, you know, doing the right things, that's more important to me than losing weight, which, again, I have PCOS, well, PMOS, as it was changed, and everything like that. And so weight gain is part of that, because of the whole insulin resistance, and your body changes, because it's a hormonal issue and all that kind of stuff. So it makes losing weight hard, but gaining weight is very easy to do. So I understand that it's complicated. So April of 2022, Heather went to tell the girls that she was sorry for not believing them. She felt like she played an important part into what happened to them. She felt so sorry for not sticking up for them. She reached out to Kimi, and she was an open book for her, and for anything that they needed to bring justice, or any form of justice, to the victims of Stefan. So it was a big deal for her at the time to come out about Stefan. Heather told Kimi that Stefan talked to minors, allegedly. That, again, this is just what was presented in the doc. Stefan would tell them that they had to wait until they were 18 to join the Discord, encouraging them to send pictures of noodles that make sense to any of y'all, and to stay in contact with him, to know that he was a safe place / guy. It sounds creepy, because it is fucking creepy. He's a creepy motherfucker. So when the girls would leave the Paradise House, and probably on, you know, not so great terms, he would delete all, like, almost all, like, content of the girls that were posted and everything. So, like, you know. So, Cece, the mother of Stefan's twin boys, his sweet spot is 22, because she met Stefan around the age of 21 to 22. A 24-year age gap between them. Their relationship with their twin boys were all dependent on how well Cece treated Stefan, which is horrible. Eventually, she saw that there was nothing there for her, and she left and didn't look back, taking the boys with her. People came to her with with their stories after that. Like, everything that was said behind her back, she didn't know how bad everything truly was. Stefan tried to get another girl to get the, I'm glad that auto-corrected. The, Plan B, pills if you were already pregnant, because this was back when Cece was pregnant. And, he wanted to get those, Yeety Feety fetus pills and crush them up and put them in a drink and have Cece consume it and have a spontaneous misbaggaged, if you get what I mean. And that is horrible. You know, happy to report the babies are alive, healthy. Her boys are happy, healthy, as far as we know. And so is Cece. And fuck away from Stefan. Stefan has no relationship with those boys. He has no interest in being a father. So he said, when he was asked about it, he said it was a joke. That he made it to another girl. Like, haha, you know. He thought it was a joke. To intentionally do that to someone who is expecting your children, your twin boys, you can't make jokes like that. You can't make jokes like that. Again, luckily everyone's happy, healthy. I hope Cece has good money. She got good money and full custody of those children. I hope so. Because, good Lord. And, you know, this brings up another topic of, she brought up the fact that she hopes the boys, when they're older, don't end up hating her because of the fact that, you know, the boys didn't get to grow up with their father. And, you know, hopefully, with how she's going to raise those boys, I think that they will have compassion once they understand the story of our dad was a piece of shit and, you know, did these horrible things to our mother, and that man was never my father. That sort of thing. And, you know, I hope that will be the case. Stefan acts like a victim because 2 kids out there that were conceived without my consent. There's nothing you can do about it as a man. I don't... So, I wrote this. IDK, maybe, you know, the person who is putting their health and body on the line to want to carry a pregnancy with not 1 but 2 babies and who has to push them out and deliver them should have a say. I believe the Yeetus fetus story with the pill was true. I don't think Stefan was ever interested in being a father. And I think that's why he tried to crush the pills and give it to Cece in the first place. I don't think he wanted to be a father, and he saw that as his only way out. Again, allegedly. Because, allegedly. I'm not going to say anything else, but Carissa. So she's in Paradise, currently in Paradise. She joined in 2025. She's 22. So she's in that quote unquote golden age. Wants to stay in Paradise, is a member, and wants to remain one. Grew up in a trailer home in North Carolina. I think she was seen as vulnerable and as a target for Stefan to get what he wanted. I still stand by that. At the time I got out of a relationship and joined the house, her ex-boyfriend was a feeder. She was called by her ex-boyfriend the weakest biatch I've ever met, is what Carissa was told by that trash of an ex, by that human garbage. Because he was feeding her until she had to purge. I'll say that. Stefan is her cameraman and biggest supporter. She posts pics of her body, BBW content. She has OnlyVans. OnlyVans. And she does that sort of content. She makes feeder content. I'm not into hardcore feederism. Well, you might be, by playing a part into feederism is a problem by making this content. Like, do your thing. Okay, this was my thoughts. I really did this kind of shit. It's really contradictive that you're like, I'm not a feeder, but I'll help someone make feeder content. That's what I was trying to get here. Carissa makes money and gives, I don't think all of it to Stefan, but the money that she gives him, the quote, money that he deserves. He deserves nothing. The man is a millionaire. Like, the fuck? No. She loves Stefan. So Stefan confessed his feelings to her first. Stefan, very kinky, very hands-on is what she's described him as. Shocker. Anyway, so Xiomara is a friend of Paradise House. Stefan liked her. I wasn't sure of pronouns at the time. Stefan likes girls to be happy, healthy. Cass was across that line. Same with Xiomara. So, Shay was there, which, I do not, this was also mentioned, so Shay did pass away, from unrelated illnesses, but her weight definitely had a contributing factor to making it worse. She did pass away earlier this year. But yeah, she not earlier, it was like a month or two ago. But yeah, so, most respect to Shay. Shay was there when Xiomara was there. Xiomara got sick on January 7th. Xiomara, after being in her room for a couple of days, the girls and Stefan went to go check on her. She didn't look good, and Stefan left to go and get an oxygen meter, and he came back and her oxygen was at 60, which is horrible. Very, very, very bad. So Stefan called for help. That's good that he did that. She ended up going into the hospital. Flu and ammonia, and needed to be intubated and put into a medical coma several times. She lost her ability to walk. Rosie spoke on Xiomara. The community was back and forth. Again, sorry about that. Back and forth. Is she alive? Is she dead? Is she alive? Is she dead? We'll talk about Rosie towards the end, because Rosie is Rosie. Rosie tells Xiomara was getting better, but then on TikTok, after sharing her health journey, because she's still in the hospital at this point, even months later, she started going live on TikTok and doing mukbangs, which is where, you eat in front of the camera. I'm assuming if you're watching this, you know what mukbangs are. Oh my god. Sounded like a pirate there for a second. Oh my god. I'm sorry, y'all. Stefan and the girls in Paradise, August 13th, went to go visit Xiomara at the hospital. Stefan and the girls, Stefan fed her, bringing her unhealthy food. I am not a parent, I am her friend. If you were her friend, Stefan, if you were her friend, you would not bring her unhealthy food that she asked for. You would not do that and go against probably whatever dietary restrictions that the hospital probably had her on at the time. Well, I didn't know. If she, it was up to Xiomara to tell her that, but also, like, Stefan is a feeder. We know this, and he denies it. Sorry, this is just making me angry. Anyway, fed her. Xiomara said Stefan has been a good friend to her, and she thinks that Stefan didn't have a role to play in what happened to her. He totally did, and you're being blinded by the fact that he was kind to you and loved you, but only loved you as for your body and as an object. Allegedly. Anyway, Xiomara gave the interview remotely. She's living in a rehab facility, and hopefully she'll be released soon. She's learning to walk again, and she's actually doing really good for herself. She looks, compared to the old photos and everything like that we've seen, she looks so much better, and I'm very proud of her. She was already fat before Paradise, and meeting Stefan, she made food content as well on TikTok videos of her eating and cooking. Right before the hospital, she weighed herself, and she was 620 pounds. So it's crazy how that could happen. Once going into the house, it was a different world. Xiomara claimed to not have known about feederism and that kind of culture, which, I will say it's kind of hard to kind of think about it, but if you don't know about feederism culture and everything like that, you just kind of, I guess, I'm trying to think about it in a way of someone who's never heard of it before. Like, if your partner came up to you and was like, hey, I get actual gratification by seeing you eat and gain weight, what would you think then? Like, I'm trying to think about what if a partner came up to me and said that. I don't know what I would do. I mean, knowing me, I would probably look it up and see what it is. I didn't really know about, feet. I kind of had an understanding what feederism was, but it's kind of not hard to put two and two together. It's really not. So I think in a way, in a sense, these girls understand when they get into feederism culture and how, stuff like that. I think that they can understand what's happening to a degree, but they just don't want to admit that they're doing feeder content, or feeder is feedy stuff. I don't think that they want to admit that, because I think they understand that it's wrong in a way. The house was made for feeder content, online and in-person feeders she met. So she was doing this. She was enjoying the life and everything. She was using Phoebe. She was using all the feeder apps. She was getting DM requests on all her social medias and stuff like that. It was a lot, but also exciting. Dr. Chris Donahue, I probably spelt his name wrong, but he talks about hardwiring the brain. So if you have pleasure while doing something, especially if you're eating / feeding somebody, and if you're experiencing any form of pleasure by it, especially physical pleasure, it's hard to break that hardwire, unwire it from your brain. It's hard to break that connection once it's there. So, this might be the only way some people get their rocks off, sort of thing. And, as a sex therapist, it was a good insight that he said that, because I was like, wow, I guess I didn't really think about it that way, because I was trying to understand how this is happening, and I still don't understand why some people get the way that they do about feederism content, but, everyone's circumstances probably is really different in that situation. Xiomara said that I think I remind him, as in Stefan, of Cass a little, which I can totally see that. I can totally see that because Stefan, again, I really think Stefan really, really did love Cass. I really think so. She seemed like she was such a nice person. So on September 22nd, Xiomara was hospitalized again. She said that if she didn't go through with Paradise, she wouldn't have learned to grow as a person. So, I'm glad she's using the situations that happened to her as like if this didn't happen to me, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And I wouldn't have learned these lessons and stuff. I'm glad she's able to learn something about that. I'm glad she's able to understand on a deeper level of how this life experience can shape her. But, near death experiences do change you. And everything like that. And I think that's what happened. And I feel like now in like rehab and everything, I feel like she's come to terms, hey, I have this second chance at life, and I'm going to take it, and I'm going to do what I can with it, and I'm going to enjoy myself, because she truly did look happy. Kimi talks about Stefan suing them for the $1 million, and how him suing was basically trying to force them into silence. It wasn't about getting the $1 million. It wasn't about getting the money. It was about getting them to shut the fuck up and, to get victims to be silenced. And all the victims, Shay, Allie, Kimi, all the girls, they did not stay quiet. They kept going. The case was dropped. It was thrown out. Everyone was so happy about it. The case didn't feel over because Stefan, is never going to be done. We won the battle, but the war is still going on against Paradise. So it's actually not just Savvy and Kimi meeting up in person. At the very end, all the girls get together and they're sitting with each other, and they are just talking and being like, I'm so proud of you. You look good. You look so happy. And just being really supportive of each other. And I hope that they looked like they felt that sense of community, trust, love, all of that between each other still, which, that's the beautiful part of Paradise that I saw, that I could see how it's alluring to want to be a part of that community that's just full of love, full of life, and accepting and beautiful. I understand that, but the underlying thing is that I don't think this documentary, Santoki talked about this a little bit. I don't think that this documentary was primarily about the body positivity movement. This was about the dark side of it. This was about the dark side of body positivity, the weirdos that really get off on women having a bigger body and everything. And it's about, I really think that this was about like trying to have some self-acceptance, trying to learn from these women who were taken advantage of in one shape or form or another, or many ways. And I think that they're just trying to help people understand, hey, not everybody in the body positivity movement has the best intentions for you. It's all about finding your group of people and making that community around you, instead of going to somebody like Stefan and having all that happen to you. And even if something bad does happen to you, there's always a light on the other side. And I thought it was really beautiful that Ivy sang a song at the very end, and all these women are very brave for stepping forward and being a part of the documentary and everything like that. And I thought it was so, so beautiful that they could come together after all this time and, talk and everything and get together and, still have that sisterhood that, a lot of women crave. Like even guys, it's good to have a group of the same gender with the same problems, who understand you, who who can support you in ways that, other girlies can, girlies understand girlies, girlies help girlies, girlies love girlies sort of situation, Rosie. I'm going to get onto the Rosie topic just because, I don't want this to be terribly long or anything, but, I think I said all I had to say, but Rosie, I want to cover what I think about Rosie and her part in this situation, because she is not happy. She is not happy at all. She's not happy. She thought the documentary was going to be about her and her story. She was brought on as a feederism expert and content creator. Rosie, you're not a victim in this situation. You were not a part of Paradise. You were not a part of Paradise. Therefore, you do not have room in the doc. You were brought on because allegedly you have a big following. They needed to put somebody else with a bigger following or a controversial, because really, you are controversial, Rosie, whether you like it or not. But she was brought on for her face and her fan, quote unquote, fans, haters, everybody like that. And, there's some debate about Tess Holiday and stuff like that. I don't really know much about Tess and what she's done, so I can't really say much about that. But, definitely Rosie was brought on for the fact that she has the follower account that she does and everything. She was expecting, like, that podcast, which we will be going over eventually, about Rosie and stuff like that. We will be doing that eventually in the future. But Rosie, she thought it was going to be like that, and she was going to be able to tell her whole life story, because in a sense, Rosie has this, like, I heard someone else say this, and it's completely true, this histrionic personality, like, just, I don't want to say disorder, but, like, this whole histrionic personality of hers, where she likes to be the center of attention. She gets upset when she's not the center of attention. Everything has to constantly be about her, or the world is ending. That is how I think Rosie is. And, like, it's not a bad thing, but it's definitely something I noticed, because she loves to talk about herself. She loves to be the center of attention. She loves to be outgoing and be so dramatic and all that kind of stuff on purpose, because she likes the attention. And, liking that attention is not a problem, but the way she goes about it, even to get said attention, if she's not getting enough of it, she will do something intentionally problematic to get the attention on her. That is where I have an issue with it. And that's why I think that she's doing all this crap. Allegedly. Allegedly. This is why that I think she's doing all this crap about Paradise, and why she's like, oh, I only got like a minute and 30 seconds worth of content. I thought my story was going to be in the docu-series more often. I thought I was going to have more of a bigger part to play in the series. Rosie, it's not your damn story. I'm laughing, but it's not haha funny, but it's a little bit funny. Rosie, you were not a victim of Paradise. You texted Stefan and you went on a live stream with him, and that was it. That's all you did. In no way, shape, or form did he hurt you. Now, you were hurt in the past by an ex-boyfriend that was a feeder and everything like that. And allegedly, you're with another one. Allegedly, allegedly, you're with another one. And Rosie, you are acting so entitled. Like, you really thought HBO was going to project your story on a documentary that had nothing to do with you? You really thought that was going to work. After everything, after knowing what the documentary series was going to be about, you thought. Oh my God, that's crazy. That is crazy to me that she even thought that was going to be how that worked. Go on another podcast if you want to talk about yourself, Rosie. That's your favorite subject. Yourself. Anyways, this is going to come out a little bit later than I thought in the day. This is going to come out a little bit later in the day than I originally thought it was going to come out and everything like that. And that's okay because, I still have editing to do and stuff like that. But, I thought this documentary was really interesting and it shared a lot of really good points and victim stories, brave victims who came out about their assaults, their situations, everything that happened to them. Their stories were presented to us. Their stories are out there. Their stories potentially will protect other young girls and other women against Stefan and people who act like Stefan. That was the main goal here, I think. And I am grateful to have heard these stories of these brave women and understand, hey, even with something as horrible that happened, you can still come out and still be this amazing, strong woman at the end of the day. And I am so happy that they did that. I'm so happy that they were comfortable enough to come out and admit what happened to them and share their amazing story and how their strength, can teach us all a good lesson. So I'm going to end it there because this video is like an hour long and I need to edit. But I will get this edited and I will post it as soon as possible. But I'm Ray anyways. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to drop me a like, subscribe, and a comment. Yeah. And I think tomorrow I'll try and do a double upload, I think. Maybe do another foodie. Yeah, I think I want to do another foodie. Maybe check in on Amberlynn. I don't know. See what's going on with Amberlynn because I know that she's going back to the Lol Cow bus or whatever thing with Keemstar. So, I think I'm going to do that, but we'll see. We'll definitely see. But if there's anyone else you want me to react to or give my comments on, please let me know. I'll go ahead and do that if you leave me a comment. But, I would really love to hear more input from you guys. But thank you again. Remember, you are loved, you are cherished, you are beautiful, and most of all, you are important. Bye, guys. Have a good day.